case. And there we are. So we're sitting here with Major Singleton. First of all, the 49er thing in the background, we were just talking about that. Super excited about this weekend. And so where do you live? Where do you live? Let's start there.
I live literally 10 minutes down the street from Cowboy Stadium.
And you're a Niner fan, huh?
And I'm a Niner fan. So it's an exciting week. I'm gonna put my Niner flag out front of my house. I really don't care. It's gonna be a great game. I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be great.
Well, that says a lot about you already, the grit. You do what you think is right. That's amazing. So you and I met somewhere in Florida and I can't remember. There's so many broker conventions, right? I don't remember where it was.
At Fuse this past year at Fuse.
Fuse, that's right. And when I was introduced to you, as a relatively new loan officer. When did you start?
I started in September of 2021 was when I started. So September 2020. So when I started, my 2-year mark was September of 2022.
So you've been a loan officer for a little bit longer than 2 years.
That's correct.
Okay, so I've been doing this 15 years. And when I was told that, about you, that you're relatively not to mute somebody, I'm sorry. My first thought was, wow, here's a guy, he's a great guy. I met your wife, beautiful wife, super excited to be in the industry. How can I help you? All this great stuff. Then we started talking, and then we started talking somehow about numbers. And I was absolutely floored that last year you closed, if I'm wrong, you helped 143 families. Is that right?
Yeah, well, we were at 162 total. 132 of those were veterans.
How many were veterans?
132.
132.
Yeah.
So I'm laughing here. So if anybody that's new as a loan officer doesn't think they can reach those goals that quick, well, here's your man right here, because that is absolutely tremendous. I mean, I've been doing this 15 years, and it wasn't until the last 6 years that I started getting those kind of numbers. So congratulations, man. That is huge.
Thank you very much. I've been very fortunate to meet some great people, glean some great ideas from people like yourself. I'm mentored in many ways by Tom Hollis, and he's a great friend. It's been great just to tie into the network that we have, the organizations that we have, and just learn. I mean, this business is one of those things where you kind of create your own adventure. So you chew the meat, spit out the bones type of things, and you can really create a great living for yourself if you find something that's really unique to you. Find something that's like what you really like doing. It really is a great opportunity.
Sorry, I had to mute somebody. Yeah, it is. And so tell me about if you're closing 160 plus loans, you're making, sorry, I'm trying to mute people as they come in. I apologize.
No,
you are doing very well. So tell us about your journey though. I mean, how did somebody in a little bit less than 2.5 years go from brand new loan officer to helping as many people as you did, please?
So I did 23 years in the Navy. At near the end of my career, I was in Hawaii, where I got my career started in loans. And near the end of my career, I had a boss called me from San Diego. My boss was in San Diego at the time. And he calls me up and he says, hey, Major, I want you to go around to everybody in base housing and make sure there isn't any deferred maintenance going on. And I said, what do you mean? I'm making sure there's this is not in my job description anywhere, which is not uncommon because in the military, we do a lot of things that are not in our job description.
Sure.
So I started having to go around to people in base housing and find out kind of how they were living. Mm-hmm. And I told my boss, I'm like, this is pretty interesting that you have people paying $3,000 a month to these privatized, companies. And that's what they are in the military now. They're privatized companies that are basically landlords for the government. And they have this constant churn of people coming in as they rotate in and out. And you have a private company that's really managing the company. So I said, this is really interesting that they're paying, 36 grand a year.
Wow.
And I'm having to take time out of my day to go to where they are and have these and check on their housing. So, I started educating and started talking to people about living off base and living, not being in base housing, starting to build equity, using a VA home loan, which, frankly, is pretty easy to do if you're an active duty, service member. So I started educating them, doing buy versus rents before I knew what buy versus rent was from MBS Highway or something like that. So started having those conversations. I had somebody come by the job who happened to be a part of a mortgage company, happened to he owned a mortgage company.
Mhm.
And I said, hey, when I'm ready to retire, I think I'm going to come have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
Time went on, I did have a conversation with him, and I said, hey, I'm going to retire and I'm going to start doing mortgages. Didn't know what I was doing. The only thing I knew is that I knew some pretty, I was in Hawaii at the time. I went by to see my loan officer because I was doing a refinance.
Mhm.
And this guy was in, sandals and a t-shirt in his office. And I'm putting on a uniform every day and going to work. And I asked him, I said, hey man, is there any money in this thing? And he's like, yeah, there's some money in it.
Yeah.
And I said, how much money are we talking?
Yeah.
And he said, and he told me what he was making. I said, you're making that for doing my loan. And he said, yeah, I am. And I said, wait a minute. What are those names you have on the wall right there? He said, those are the people who are closing this month.
Yeah.
And I said, those people are closing this month and you're making about what you're making on my loan, on all those loans. He said, yep. And I said, yeah, I'm done. So I said I was retiring, got into mortgages, into the refi boom, if you recall.
Yep.
So I think my third year in mortgages, I think I did 16 files that my third month.
Right.
I did 16 files on my third month, almost died. Okay. I don't recommend this.
Yeah.
It was
a lot of loans.
it was painful. And then I hired someone about 2 months later. But those 16, because I needed somebody to help me maintain that. But I looked at the market as it was at that time, and I kind of figured out like, hey, I started to talk to other people. Other people said, well, I already refied. I'm at 2.25, 2.5, and those don't need to refi. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. And I started to get more and more of those phone calls where, friends, family members, coworkers are already refinancing stuff. And I'm like, okay, now it's time to change. Mm-hmm. How do I go from a refi business into a purchase business?
Right.
And so while everybody else was forgetting about realtors because they're turning out refis and everything, I started to engage realtors while my team worried about refinances. Gotcha. So I started, doing that stuff, and that catapulted me because I brought on some realtor relationships because I formed great relationships when people were not worried about realtors. So, that's kind of how we got started. And that's how I got started into mortgages.
So how did you start creating realtor relationships, which is very smart because there was a time where people were so focused on refis, right, that they weren't even calling realtors. So what did you do? What was your strategy?
So it's important that you ask that question. I know we have other loan officers on here, and I want to answer that question because somebody might think as I answer this question, well, that worked for him then, but that doesn't work now. So I lived in Hawaii. Before I answer that question,
sure,
I lived in Hawaii for 7 years. Mm-hmm. And my mom was my mom still lives in the Fort Worth area. We almost lost her about 2 years ago, and then we were like, okay, maybe we need to be closer, have the grandkids closer, be able to get there and stuff like that.
Right.
So we uprooted our family and everything, and we moved to DFW. And what I am doing today, building my business in Dallas, I still do about 60% of my business in Hawaii, and maintain those relationships and get those referrals from realtors and everything. Mm-hmm. But what I'm doing today now is the same thing that I did, back when I started my business. So I'm having to do it all over again. So the way I answer that question is exactly what I'm doing right now. Okay. So what I did was I would go to a broker. I would approach brokers. Wouldn't usually start there. I usually talk to a loan officer. As I talk to that loan officer, I would ask that loan officer, hey, I would like to meet with your team leader and you. or your broker and you, depending on their production. Like some realtors kind of have teams or whatever. So I want to meet with your team leader and you just to have a conversation about whether they think we should be working together. I want their opinion. Now, do I really want their opinion? Don't freaking care. Don't care a little bit. Okay. I don't want their opinion. Don't care what their opinion is. But I do want to get in front of more than that new realtor's eyes.
Right.
So I say, hey, bring your team leader or something like that. I did this in San Antonio. I had a realtor partner who moved from Hawaii to San Antonio. They're a military family, and she's a great realtor. So I did this, and she said, hey, she brought her team leader to a lunch that me and the realtor had.
Right.
And she said, hey, my lending partner's coming in. We're going to talk. And I said, okay, cool. So she brought the team leader, and they were doing a book club. So they brought 2 other realtors. So now I'm having lunch with 4 realtors at that time.
Okay.
And I'm having a conversation just about business. And we didn't talk about business very much. We talked about the ideas of the market. It was kind of like a book club. And we had lunch. Okay. We closed a little bit of transactions together. They got to see how well I worked, how efficiently I worked, how I kept everybody informed. Okay. Right. And then now I am being looked at to be the head VA lender for that brokerage group, which has about 18 realtors for the purposes of VA. Right. And I do more than VA. You know, we're brokers, so we can do almost anything. But it's my bread and butter. Right.
So let me break that down. So you meet one realtor, right? Yep. And you have a conversation with them. You develop it. Now, how would you meet that one realtor? I mean, you're brand new in Dallas, right? You don't know anybody. How did you meet that one realtor?
Great question. Now, the way I have done this has been multifaceted. Okay. I happen to have some realtor relationships here already because I was doing business in Texas. Okay. Where when I was still in Hawaii. Okay. So I would ask them, hey, anybody coming into your any new realtors that need some education, need to be taught things. Okay. So my perspective is always education. Okay. I want to help you grow. And which is the same thing I did in Hawaii. I would go to brokers and I would say, hey, I want to help you educate your new realtors. All right. So I would put classes together and go have conversations with them and help them learn some more about lending or questions they should be asking their buyers or potential buyers, questions they should be asking their sellers. Right. Because people forget that a seller is also likely 99% of the time a new buyer. Right. Okay. So some people are like, hey, I don't do anything on the selling side. I'm like, you're an idiot because you're forgetting. So, you have these conversations about just educating them. And then over time, you become the person that they call for all of their questions.
So just to break it down, you have a niche with VA.
Absolutely.
And so that's really what you're going in there about. You're saying, hey, I'm a veteran. I'm a veteran. I specialize in VA lending. I would just love to sit down with you, educate you on the VA loans. I mean, how does that conversation go? Just kind of give people an idea. Because I think it sounds too simple.
Yep.
But maybe it's not, right? Maybe that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Know what I mean?
Right. But, I have these, so VA is my niche per se, but when I'm going in, I don't care what I go talk about.
Right.
I just need to have something to talk about. Okay. Yeah. So sometimes I am a broker, so I'm going and sometimes I'm going and talk to them about, hey, this is the advantage that you can have with brokers. Right. Or the services I can provide to your clients that somebody else, maybe with overlays or something like that, particular overlays can't provide to them. Right. So although I have a VA class, and I'll get into that, I have a VA class for realtors, I'll get into that. When I go sit down with them, I may not be talking VA. I may be talking about what I call my UVP, my unique value proposition. And if you're a loan officer, you have to know what your unique value proposition is. What is it that you have or you bring to the table that the next person does not? Because I have many realtor partners who get phone calls from loan officers all the time, and they will tell them like, the likelihood that you're better than Major is absolutely zero. So I don't have time to meet with you. So, so when I meet with someone, understand that I'm not necessarily talking about VA. I'm talking about them, their business, and how to move their business forward, and what are their pain points in their business, and talk to from education from that standpoint. Okay. Now,
there's so much there, Major. I just want to recap one thing, is I think this is a huge thing, is that if you are a lender and you're struggling to meet new realtors, an amazing way of doing that is if you already have relationships, to reach out to that person you have a relationship and ask them, who could you meet? Have that lunch, right? Have them bring somebody. That's a great way. That's what you were saying. Is that right?
Absolutely. And
that's huge.
If you have realtor relationships, as a lender, if you have, I can tell you that I have about 3 or 4 realtors that are partners of mine, and their mindset is about growth. Their mindset is, I'm going to help you grow, and we're going to help each other grow. Right. And I bring value to them in education, and they're like, other people need to know this. I have a guy who, a friend of mine, we're friends today. We've been working together for 2 years. Currently, I am the top mortgage broker in the state of Hawaii. He is the top loan officer, or sorry, he's the top realtor at his brokerage. We both started 2 years ago together.
That's incredible. Yeah.
So, and we were like, hey, and he moved brokerages 3 times. And every time he moved brokerages, he would say to his broker, they'll say, hey, you need to meet with our lender or something like that. And he's like, look, I don't even need to meet with a lender. I got my own guy. We roll together. So, and they're about helping you grow. And I got somebody here in Dallas. They're like, every time we do a transaction together, they will say, hey man, your lender's great. And she will say, yeah, he is. You should use him. He's absolutely amazing. So I have partners that help me grow and go get more business. If you don't have partners that are continuing to help you grow, that's not a partner. They're kind of using you. Okay. So, it's those relationships that I've developed, and they're like, hey, you need to come in and teach a class to my brokerage. I need to introduce you to my broker. That's been a way of propelling, my business forward. So I'll add that in there.
How do you create such great relationships with, is it just, I'm sure it's natural with you, but like, do you follow a system? Anything?
First of all, relationships. Okay. So all of us are loan officers, you're approached with many different things. You're approached with, hey, will you pay for my Zillow leads, or will you pay for my lead generation system? Okay. And I'm not saying any of that is wrong. I will tell you that relationships that are based on money is prostitution. Okay. So if you have a relationship with someone and it's just about the money, just about, you pay for their leads and you're bound to them because you pay for this lead system, there's no freedom in that. Yeah. So my relationships come from, first of all, answering your phone, returning a phone call. This is very, very simple. That you're the best ability that you have as a loan officer is availability. So you have to be someone who answers the phone. If you have different hours that you don't answer the phone, make sure everybody knows that. Okay. Yeah. It's cool. But I answer their questions and help be a problem solver. Hey, I got this buyer and, they're working with this lender or whatever. They're saying this, yada, yada, yada. And I will tell them like, hey, have you thought about this? Or, hey, I got this listing that can't move. Well, have you thought about a 2-1 buy down? Or have you thought about this? And I will call my agents. And I had one I called like 2 months ago, and she dropped a listing on her price on her listing, $20,000. And I called her up and I'm like, hey, are you open to a conversation? She said, yeah. I said, congratulations. You just saved the buyer $100 a month and you still have the same problem. And she's like, what do you mean? I said, you dropped your price $20,000. You should have given $20,000 in concessions to a 2-1 buy down or something like that. And you would have gotten a buyer for that house because everybody's still concerned about interest rates. So be a problem solver, be a friend to someone, help move someone's business forward. And you eventually end up being the person who they are connected to.
Major, if we would have talked 2 days ago about that, I would have had a little different perspective. But yesterday I was talking to a client who he's going with a broker, or excuse me, he wants a new build. And the new build, what they're doing is they're paying the rate down to 4.625 on a 30-year fixed rate, right? But that's like a $30,000 cost. And so essentially they're doing exactly what you suggested. Instead of reducing the price, they're paying that. And I have to tell you, that is why he's buying that new build, is for that interest rate.
Yep.
It's that affordability aspect that's so huge. And it sounds like that's what you're helping them do, is solve that affordability.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
crazy,
You be a
great.
problem solver to partner with. Look to give more than you look to receive. Okay. You don't, I mean, I have to talk to some people like, well, if you go with me, I can do a 2-1 buy down. No, I mean, listen, I give information, and whatever God has for me, he has for me. So I'm not really worried about getting. I will help the realtor, help them solve a problem to move their business forward, especially if it's on the listing side. Because I can co-market on a listing and something like that, and do a flyer for someone. I can do that. But, you know, you have to be someone who's looking to give more than you're looking to receive.
So that's something that's brought up a lot. And I think I mean, you bring it deeper, your part to that, because I think this gets, I'm maybe going too far here, but you know, this is a spiritual game. I truly believe that. And in this group this past week, people have brought a lot of points up to like commission breadth. I can't get that word out of my brain. And, you know, that is a result of just people only calling to gain for themselves. And that will never work. I don't think. I mean, maybe it will work. I don't know. But that's not how I want to run my business. And so how does somebody that's brand new, or that is so used to just calling realtors trying to get leads, how do you make that switch to being a giver? Like where do you get your information from? How did you learn so much? Does that make sense? So I'm asking a lot of questions into one. But how do they start becoming that giver?
Yeah. I mean, so I believe that the best way to give is through education. Okay. So, you know, you have so many realtors coming in and out of being a real estate agent. You have so many things going on. You have so many brokers. You have so many realtors trying to start brokerages and grow a brokerage. You have all of these things going on, and you have to find whatever it is for you. Where do you specialize? What is your niche? So you have to figure that out. You know, where you, it might be first time home buyers, might be explaining something, might be non-QM, might be all of these. So you have to figure out what value you are bringing to that realtor or to that group. And I am always trying to get in. Now, I always say, people get on me, but I don't spend a lot of time with new realtors. And to the extent that I'm trying to get to maybe a group of 6 or 7 new realtors, because ideally in that group, one of them's going to do extremely well. And I want to be connected to that person who's continuing to grow and grow their business. But I'm trying to get to a point where I'm trying to get in to the brokerage in order to give a presentation, education, help the broker. And I'll talk to the broker, say, hey, what's your pain point right now in your business? Well, we're losing deals because of this. You know, people just aren't qualifying, okay, with these higher interest rates. And I go in, and I had a recession protection brief that I would give, you know, just talking about different programs people can use to do less business in a down market. You know, I actually partnered with 2 other brokers that I have no financial connection to. We actually partnered to do this at title companies in the DFW area. We were different people. Okay. We were attracting a different audience. And we said, hey, why don't we just combine and do a 3-way presentation to bring this together and everything. And it worked fantastically. They got some realtor connections out.
So you partnered up with a different lending company to do that?
We were all under the same umbrella, but we're all independent.
So, okay, got you.
So we're all independent, but we have no financial connection to one another. If they succeed, I'm like, great for you. But we were all like bent on, you know, spreading the information that we needed to spread in order to help other people. And you walk in there, and guess what? Some people connect with one person, some people connect with another person. We were not stepping on each other's toes, and we were all confident in who we were. Everybody can't do that. Okay. So that is not advice for you to take away from here and say partner with two other people who you are. That is not.
That's all right. I like
But
that.
that was you. But what you can do is you can put together some information,
Right.
partner with a title company,
Right.
and I partner with title companies in the DFW area. I bring the information, they bring the food, and they provide the venue, and we invite realtors to a lunch and learn. So
what kind of information are you giving at these recession protection like stuff? Like what are some ideas?
Good. So at the recession protection presentation, we talk 2-1 buy down. Okay. You would be surprised how many realtors do not understand this. They do not get it. If you tell them 5 times, they might get it on the 6th.
Yeah,
okay?
totally.
They do not understand. So we talk 2-1 buy down. We talk non-QM products. Okay. Because many people believe like, hey, you got to be a business owner for 2 years in order to buy a home. Now, in some of your companies, that may be true because you don't have the products available, but you can do like non-QM stuff, stuff like that. We talked how to target different areas. In that section, we talked VA, and as a part of that, because VA is kind of recession protected in itself, especially for active duty, because we don't active duty recession, we don't care.
We don't lay off soldiers.
Yeah, exactly. So we talked about, and then we helped them by helping them figure out, how do I target more VA buyers? How do I get information out there about VA? So that's some things that we went over in that presentation. We also put a presentation together that was basically, I did this personally. It was VA loans for realtors. It was a VA for realtors course. And I put this together. I put it together and put my spin on it. I'm also a part of a group called Veteran Mortgage Advisors, VMA. It's a class you actually can go through, a group you can be a part of that specialize in VA. They give a lot of education about VA loans. If you're in a VA area, I highly recommend it. Because when I go talk to the title company, it's not that I needed, listen, I did a hunt like year before last. We finished up 2021. I think we finished up at 121 units, and I didn't have VMA behind my name. I did not need that to do VA loans.
Right.
I did need it when I went to talk to the title company and said, hey, I'm a veteran mortgage advisor. I want to teach realtors about veterans. Or I wanted to put a CE class together and I say, I'm a veteran mortgage advisor. I want to partner with you to teach class to realtors. So you might not need those certifications and stuff to do more loans, but you may need that to get in front of certain groups of people for you to open the doors to more people.
So you're saying if you become a part of veteran mortgage advisors, that will give you, like, the title companies will be able to allow you to present to people there and stuff like that. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that if you're a veteran mortgage advisor, it gives you some clout.
Okay, gotcha.
To go in and talk to the, so I probably could have, based on my relationship with the title company, I probably could have went in and talked to the title company about this. But more importantly, VMA gives you the information that you need in order to do VA loans well. Because I will tell you, I was a part of a retail company. We had certain overlays where certain things we could not do. And I thought in VA, it was not possible. But it's not, that it's not possible. It's just that I didn't know how to do them. But if you bring that information to the realtor, and you have the right heart behind it, I'm going to help you grow your business. I'm going to help veterans be served well. Then that becomes something that you really can advance your business on and grow great relationships.
There it is.
I will tell you the other thing that I do.
Yeah, please.
The other thing we do is my team, VA is mine, and keep in mind, VA is my specialty, but this for you can be FHA. This can be first-time home buyers. This can be anything. This can be, whatever your specialty is. I don't want to make this about VA. It's not. It's just, that's my tribe. That's my people. What's your tribe? Is your tribe, hey, new college graduates? Is your tribe, is your tribe retirees? Is your tribe reverse mortgage? Whatever it is for you, you can put together an educational brief, because I think I'm not doing a reverse mortgage. Okay. It's too much for me to learn. I'm not going to do it. Okay. It's like, I'll refer that out. You send me your name and your number. If you do reverse mortgages, I will send you every single reverse mortgage referral I get, because I'm not doing one. Okay.
Oh, the notes are filling up here. Just kidding.
So, the thing
funny.
is, you can do this with anything. So my team, we put together a VA. So we have a realtor facing VA loan webinar, or it's not a webinar. The realtor facing VA loans presentation, we do it at title companies. We do that as a part of, we go into realtor groups or realtor brokerages. We teach that class for realtors.
Okay.
I also have a buyer side VA loan presentation that we teach to VA buyers. And we do that about once every 3 weeks. It's a webinar. People can log in, and I teach live. It's on a Saturday. I teach live. They listen. It's one-way communication. Basically, they can type stuff in a chat when they have questions about stuff. So the system is set up where I really don't promote it anymore. When I have realtor relationships, and when they get a VA buyer, their thing is, you need to attend Major's webinar. So they send the people to the webinar. Okay. I get on, I teach. Our system is set up where we collect their information and stuff as part of the registration process through Zoom. This is not hard to do. They sign up with their email and their phone number. They log in, they listen to the stuff for an hour. My team follows up with them. Usually about 40% of the people that attend are doing an application immediately after the webinar. Okay. So they're spitting these applications out. Mondays and Tuesdays are usually rough for my team because they're doing pre-approvals, a lot of them. Okay. So, so we're doing that. And then we're following up with the realtor. Hey, so-and-so attended our webinar, because when they sign up, they put who referred them. Okay. As a part of the registration process. So-and-so attended our webinar. They should be considered a hot lead. They've submitted an application. Let's go. So we follow up with the realtors and get that information out to them. And those people are going under contract, and we're doing that process over and over again. I have a realtor. Last year, we did 30 deals together last year.
That's huge. Yeah.
It was good. It was good.
That's not bad. Yep. Yeah.
Me and that realtor did 30 deals together last year. And people ask me, like, how does she do 30 deals? Well, how'd you guys do 30 deals together? And, the year before, she did 11 deals. Okay. Before we were working together, we started working together, and we did 30 deals together. And the way she did 30 deals is she sent 120 people to my webinar. And we were churning them out, pumping them out, people ready to go. Got it. Now that content is it's VA, but it's also sales. Okay. So it is intended to convince you to buy a house. All right. So, but that's the way we did it. We have a lot of education, and we talk about education continuously.
So Major, but how do you, so a lot of loan officers try to put these webinars on. One person shows, maybe no people show. Right now I just never had success. How did you get success, and what do you think people are doing wrong when they're doing their own, like a first-time home buyer workshop? Where do you think where they're going wrong?
They quit too soon.
What's that?
They quit too soon.
So your first webinar, you didn't have 100 people show up?
No, absolutely not. And I was like, oh man, I was on fire, man. I was like, this is gonna be great. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
I think we had like 2 people. But here's the thing, it's a webinar. So nobody knows how many people are actually on the webinar, except me. And what I had to learn to do is hide the bar on Zoom that told me how many people were in the webinar.
That's great.
So I do it. So when you come to my webinar, I'm spitting fire like it's 500 people on there, and it can be wonderful. One person. They are getting it. I think it was like 6 months ago, for whatever reason, we had like one person on the webinar, one person. And I'm like, this is interesting. So we had one person log in, and I spit fire. Like it was like heat rocks. They got my all. That one person, they did an application the next day. They went into contract 3 days later. 21 days later, we were closing. So that one person was well worth, financially speaking, well worth me spending an hour on a webinar. So they quit too soon. They have poor expectations about what this is really going to be like. Okay. And you have to really keep going. We've had that webinar going for about a year and a half
Yeah.
of putting that together. And now I might share it on Instagram. I think my social media person does share it on Instagram. But literally, I wake up, I mean, it's Friday, and my wife's like, hey, what are we doing tomorrow? And I'm like, God, something's going on tomorrow. Oh, yeah, I got a webinar. It's not like at the front of my mind. I just show up. Hey, let's go. Let's webinar today. And you do it, and you just like move on to your next thing. It's a system that you unconsciously think about.
Oh, man, that's great. How did you, so can you give me like a quick outline of what your webinar is about, just so people want to create their own, they can give a general gist of what you do?
Sure. I would talk, first thing is you have to change your perspective.
Okay.
All right. Many people think from the perspective of a loan officer. And whatever it is you're going to create the webinar about, even our realtor presentation. Our realtor presentation starts off with what are some things you've heard about VA loans, and you go through the same things. They take too long to close, the appraisal, yada, yada, all of this stuff. So we started with the things people told me about VA loans, and I went and I then broke those down to show people why those were inaccurate. And VA loan is a niche for me because really, I will tell you, Paul, the average loan officer originates about 2 VA loans per year.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
If you do something 2 times a year, you're simply not going to be good at it.
Especially VA. I agree.
It's too much. It's too many things to know. Okay.
Right.
I will tell you, I do very few FHA loans. Right. I think in my career, short as it may be, as a loan officer, I think I've done 3 FHA loans.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not really something I do.
Right.
Really not good at them. Not good at the guidelines and everything. So it's not really something I do. So it's something for me to go in and I say, hey, these are your issues you're having. Here's why you're having your issues. And here's why other loan officers are screwing this up.
I mean, it's a section. I like that last part. Okay, wait, let me write that down. Why other loan officers? How do you get around the section 1? Like, that is usually the biggest concern that I face.
Yeah, I mean, so I will tell you anything or getting around anything, whether it's termite or anything, what getting around all of those issues is knowing what to expect. You know what to expect. The realtor knows what to expect. Everybody knows what to expect or what to look for. Okay. And as a part of my presentation to realtors, I show them these are going to be your problems with a VA loan. Okay. And granted, some listings you do not want a VA buyer for. Not going to work. Okay, let's just get it out there and say, hey, this is not going to work for VA because the seller doesn't want to fix it. You're just trying to get the property moved. Okay, I found that if you know what to expect and you communicate the expectation, whether it's buyer, real anybody, then you're not so up in arms. We're building a house right now. You walk through the house, stuff's everywhere. The guys have the builders have food out here, and like it's your house. So you're like, why isn't this pristine and everything? But a year ago, the builder said, hey, it's a work site. Don't be surprised. It's a work site. Stuff's gonna get nicked up. We're gonna fix it in the end. And every time I walk through there, my flesh wants to say, oh, why they're doing this to my house? But it's like, he told me this was gonna happen. All right. So you relax. It's the same way with VA. It's the same way with any process.
I was going to say with any loan, right?
Absolutely. If you have a funky situation and a buyer reaches out to you and says, hey, I need X, Y, and Z. I got a commercial deal I'm working on right now. It's very kind of sticky, very moving parts. And I got a phone call here in about an hour to talk about it.
Right.
And I told the buyer, hey, I need to check on some things here because this is funky. You're going to hear from me. You're going to hear back from me in about 48 hours. He's not calling me the next day and say, hey, you got to answer for me. So, because I set the expectation. So in anything, if you set the expectation appropriately, then you really don't have a problem, whether it's section 1 or whatever.
I think a lot of new loan officers, including myself, sometimes we want to please people. So we overpromise, and the overpromise is what gets us in trouble. Right. Now, do you ever visit a site or anything like that, a house, to see if there's going to be any issues?
Say that one more time.
Do you ever like go to a house and like preview it, or do you have any system like that?
Sure. I will have I have realtors that will send me stuff and like, hey, is this going to be a problem on the VA? Is
Right.
going to be a problem on VA appraisal? Or,
Right.
hey, is this going to be a problem even on conventional? Is anybody going to finance this?
Right.
You know, so, sometimes it's like, hey, maybe FHA 203K, maybe, you're going to get something like maybe a fix and flip, conventional, you're not going to pass because sometimes people are like, hey, I know if I go FHA, I can't do this, but if I go conventional, you think I could get through it? Hey, bro, the house is falling apart. What are you talking about? Would you lend somebody the money to buy it?
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I have those relationships where I tell realtor partners, hey, if there's
Yeah.
anything funky, let me, or why don't you just reach out to me and we take a picture. I was doing an investment property a couple of weeks ago. The guy's like, hey, there's no insulation in the attic. Is that going to be a problem? I
Yeah.
said, oh, it's going to be a problem if the appraiser goes to the attic. It's going to be a problem.
Right. Right.
So, and they're like, okay, we'll roll the dice. Appraisal came back. Yeah, there's no insulation in the attic. Go spend $150 and spray some insulation in the attic. So,
Right.
but nobody was upset with me
Right.
because I told them what to expect.
Right. I love it, man. I've gotten some listings and then it says, oh, it's just cosmetic. And there's like a hole in the ceiling. It's like, no, that's not cosmetic. I do have a question for you. And I can't get this out of my mind. I'm going to go back a little bit.
Yeah.
How did you get your realtors to be such an advocate for you? How did you get them to go around saying, you really need to use Major? As a client, you need to go to his webinar. How do you get to that spot?
Wow, that's an interesting question.
Oh, man.
But with each person is different.
Right.
And I think for buyers or for to get in to say, hey, you need to go to the webinar.
Right.
First of all, they knew I was having a webinar.
Right.
So it is consistently scheduled. Okay. All of my webinars are planned out for the next year. Okay. I know exactly when they are. Okay. So they're planned out. Now, am I going to be live on each one? Maybe not. Maybe my team shows up, plays recording. Okay.
Right.
So it's not that I'm live on each one. Okay.
Right.
90% of them I'm live on, but if we go on vacation, we're on vacation, we're traveling, whatever. But they know that there is a webinar coming. Many people you can't send somebody to something if you don't know it's going to be there.
Right. That's
So
true.
if
Okay.
you're going to commit to doing this, if you're going to commit to putting something together,
Right.
you have to have it in place to do it come hell or high water.
Right.
You got to have it in place. It has to be consistent.
Right.
You have to be ridiculously predictable. And you have to have those things in place where people know, hey, and some people text me like, hey, when's your next VA home loan webinar? And they'll I was like, hey, check my IG. I really don't know.
Right.
So, and they'll go to my IG and check my IG. So that's the first thing. I have to know that it's coming. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing for realtors regarding, sharing with people that you should use my guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think it comes down to having the right realtors, the right realtor partners who are not selfish and they think that there's enough to go around and they're not thinking that you're going to do less for them because you have another realtor partner that you're helping out.
Right.
That mindset, if you have people with that mindset, you probably don't have the right realtor partners.
Now, did you ever bring it up to him? Like, hey, did that come up in a conversation? Because I'm brainstorming myself and I have like amazing realtor partners. Like some of them are like, we don't even talk about loans or anything most of the time. We just developed into something else, but I can't say they're out there saying you should use Paul.
I have never had that direct conversation.
Wow.
Never.
Okay. That's impressive.
I have never, but I could think of 4 realtors right now who refer me to other realtors like none other. They're like, I'm like, they're like, the team is great.
Yeah.
The Major's great. He has a great system. I have 4 realtor partners. They happen to be in 4 different areas of the nation, which is good.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, absolutely. Major's the guy. You need to, but man, it's something I got to think about. I think I've just been
Yeah.
blessed with great relationships and everything,
Right.
and people who are very growth minded.
Right.
But yeah, it's just one of those things where they want to see, and I help them grow.
Right. Right.
I support them totally. You know, whether it's hey, I need a quick turnaround on a marketing thing because I got an open house tomorrow, and I don't have any information. Send me your 3 pictures. I'll get my marketing person to do it.
Well done.
So I support
Wow.
them,
Good stuff.
and so they're like, hey, yeah, I want to see you win. I want to see you grow.
I want to see you win. I love that. It's funny, as we're talking, I did have one realtor. I don't want to name any names, but she's absolutely amazing. When she put an offer in, she was talking to the listing agent, and she's like, "You should be working with Paul." And when I called the listing agent was like, "Yeah, tell me a little bit more about you," because she was like, I mean, that I think that's rare when realtors do that.
I agree with
I'll
that.
have a conversation with most of my realtors and be like, "Hey,
I agree with that. And the thing is, it comes back to your UVP, as I call it, your unique value proposition.
Yeah.
What is your value proposition that you are offering?
Right.
And guess what? My value proposition might change every month.
Right.
All right. Because I got to move with the market. Okay.
Yep.
And my value proposition this month might be Major really understands 2-1 buy downs. He understands, how to negotiate this, help partner with you and negotiate this with the seller's agent. He understands how to apply this for your buyers. My value proposition tomorrow might be something totally different. Okay.
Right.
So, but overall, I will tell you, I'm a broker, I'm pro broker, but, most of the time when I have a value proposition, I had a meeting with, we added 20 people to our team.
Oh, we're getting there
last year. So
we're getting there. We're getting there, Major. I'm excited to have that conversation.
There's been a responsibility to help people grow. So
Yeah.
I was down I left me and my brother, who's now part of my team.
Oh, yeah.
Went down to Houston, and we met with one of the new loan officers on my team, and 4 of his 4 realtors that he invited to lunch.
Right.
And we're having this conversation, and they're like, "What makes you guys different?" And I said, "You got a one-stop shop for your buyers. Yeah. If I can't do it, nobody can do it, because I have enough companies to make it happen for your buyers." Yeah. And all of them were like, "Yeah, I get that." Right. And it was really simple. So the value proposition typically remains the same, but you got to continue to add value. Push information out to your realtors so they know how to get ahead of, the real estate game.
So the one thing I want to plug before we go to that next piece is, there was a post in the group, and I loved what you said, because I don't always do this. If your realtor has a question for you, get them on the phone and walk them through it. That was like, because I'm so used to like, oh, here's some information, and they probably won't ask, more, you know what I mean? They won't ask for more information. Maybe they're too embarrassed or whatnot. But if you take the time to walk them through it and really explain it to them, I can't remember where else I heard that from. That's twice in 2 weeks I've heard that, where this one company was like, get your realtors on the phone, make sure they really understand it, because that's the value piece, right?
Absolutely, because they I'm one of these people who, like, if you send me an email that's longer than 2 paragraphs, I've already checked it out. Never get into the 3rd paragraph. I'm done. If you bury something in the Navy, when I was in the Navy, we had something called the bluff, bottom line up front. Yeah. Some of my emails are still written that way. Yeah. It's written as update sometimes. Hey, bluff. Hey, we're going to be delayed like 2 days. Okay. Yeah. And then I go into the explanation of why. That's great. Most of the times I don't have time to type emails. So I do a lot of bomb videos, a lot of Loom videos. Yep, me too. I'm sending videos out there because some things are lost in translation when you type them out. So I send a lot of videos to explain stuff to people, and people really grasp that. They like a 1-minute video to say what you could have said in 3 or 4 paragraphs. And so I'm all about, getting somebody on the phone, sending somebody a Zoom link and saying, hey, when you got 30 minutes, use a Zoom link, let's jump online. And you share your screen and say, hey, this is why, this is this, this is why this makes sense. These are some situations where it may not make sense. Right. So you explain that in 5 minutes, and you avoid a lot of back and forth, and you're being more efficient with your business because you took 5 minutes to explain something to someone face to face. So I'll also say this, everybody needs to get out of this mindset of, there are times when face-to-face meetings are great. Okay.
Mhm.
If I meet somebody for lunch, great. But really, COVID changed everything.
It did.
You know, it is amazing that, I mean, we moved to Dallas in June.
Mhm.
I still did about 40 million in Hawaii when we moved to Dallas. So you can do business far away from you into other markets. Some of you guys are in markets where the loan amounts simply are not very high.
Right.
So you can definitely move into markets and get relationships where you can grow in markets that you don't physically live in because you got video, you got Instagram, you can put information out on your Facebook pages
Yeah.
that people are attracted to. People say, hey, are you licensed here? Let's work together.
Right.
So, you know, COVID has been the greatest blessing for people, you know, in our industry because nobody cares where you live. Nobody, nobody
Don't.
freaking cares.
It's over. I love that. That's been the greatest change. Let's talk about it. We have 10 minutes, 9 minutes.
Okay.
I believe this is what I believe. You're probably the exception, actually, truthfully, is that if you're a new loan officer, you should be a part of a team because right now it's so competitive. If you don't have someone that's going to help you, that's going to learn, teach you how to talk to realtors, to teach you how to really, help clients and pre-approvals. There's a lot of posts, especially in some of these groups, not necessarily Loan Officer Academy, where like they're losing clients. They've been working with them, and if you don't have that leadership, you're going to get lost.
Yeah.
That's just kind of where it is. So there's two parts to this. This is what I love about the broker model. And please forgive me if you're retail, nothing against retail. It's what it is, right? But tell me how you make income. There's going to be two parts. How do you make income if you don't close a loan?
You want me to tell specifically in our model how it's done, which I'm okay with?
Well, sure, if you think so. I mean, because there's two parts to it. I think it's really important, and I want to break it down. But go ahead.
Sure. At the company I'm a part of, okay, I'm a part of Edge Home Finance.
Yep.
At the company I'm a part of, we have a profit sharing margin or profit sharing program that the brokerage puts together.
Yep.
If you recruit someone onto the platform, first of all, people talk recruiting. I believe that if you bring somebody onto a platform, you have a responsibility first to help them grow. And I tell everyone, and I tell the people who I bring on, I have interviews. I don't bring on everyone. I brought on, I currently have 20 people that's a part of my team, 20 loan officers part of my team. Some of them don't, some of other people I interviewed did not fit. Okay. It's not like I'm bringing everybody on. Okay. So it's not like that, but we have a model where the brokerage profit shares. So you have a brokerage fee. The brokerage profit shares that fee with you, basically splits it 50-50. So when you close a loan, when somebody who you recruited onto the platform closes a loan, they pay their broker fee. But because you help them close that loan, and you mentored them and helped them see through guidelines and told them who to call and how to get through this and everything, you help them. So they're going to split that with you. So technically, I made a sizable amount of money in 2022 outside of my personal volume. Now, that was a lot of work. I was mentoring 20 people. All right. So, some of them required more than others. So it's a challenge, but that's how basically it works. And many brokerages have this,
I didn't realize it.
Yeah, many brokerages have this model set up. And it's just an amazing, I found it to be the best for me. And like you said, nothing against retail. I was retail for a while, and it had its place. But that's pretty much how our system works.
I think it's really, and why I bring that up is because I am very pro loan officer. And what I mean by that is I spent years at big banks and stuff like that with upper managers telling me to go call realtors, do this, and they haven't done this in years. And you're just like, who are you? But when I look at my interest rates were higher because I had to support them in their expenses.
Yes.
And what I loved about this is in this model that you're at, and this is, by the way, I want to be really clear, you guys, we don't work at the same company. I'm at a different company here. So this is not like me talking about Paul's company. This is like, I am so in love with this model because if you're a loan officer out there and you actively recruit somebody, you get a portion of their commission. Now, this is what I love even more about it. It's not built into the interest rate. It's not like you're going to see interest rates rise to cover your portion. The actual company itself is making less.
Absolutely. And I'll take one thing you said you get a portion of their commission. We do not get a portion of their
commission.
You're
right. Thank you.
You get a portion of the broker fee.
Yes.
That the company shares with you, which is great because everybody in my team gets paid the same amount as me on a loan. That is absolutely amazing. And, you know, they have the opportunity to recruit also. So everybody's income is pretty much unlimited. So, you know, there's certainly a certain amount of maturity. We don't typically bring on brand new loan officers. If you've been doing this for less than 6 months or something like that, you're still trying to figure out how to spell 1003, probably not the best model for you. So, you know, but if you've got some things going, you got some realtor connections. So yeah, I'd investigate the question of, wait a minute, do I really need that company? Do I really care about that name? You know, if this company X grows to be the largest lender in the nation in a year, what does that mean for me? Right. So those are types of questions that you answer, that you have to answer for yourself. But yeah, I love it.
I love that so much, Major, because I remember when I was at a big bank, right? I referred 2 loan officers. They gave me like $500 each. And then when you start, you know what I mean? And that's it, right? And then if you really look at how much money they made off all of this and our rates, oh, don't even get me started. So please don't take offense to anybody. I'm so sorry, but I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that, you know, Major, how much did you make last month
I probably brought in another 7 or 8 grand.
That's not bad, man.
Yeah, outside of my own personal production.
But what I love about that is your company made 7 or 8 grand less. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's the key. Tom's probably cringing right now, but that's the key.
No, and the other thing,
I know, he's wonderful.
The other factor is they didn't make any less. I mean, everybody that's come over to work with me has made substantially more than they were making previously. Sometimes I'm like, hey, you got a good setup. You probably should stay.
Yeah.
But it's a great opportunity when you grow in this business and you learn things. It's a great opportunity, great income in this business. But it all comes down to you being a producer, you figuring out how to build relationships and close loans. It's what it's all about.
Right on, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, can't Paul. Believe I really appreciate
Major, I can't wait to see you next week.
Yeah.
And you're speaking, is it Thursday you're speaking?
Thursday. Yeah, I think it's Thursday afternoon.
All right. I will come out of the pool to watch you speak.
Hey, anybody listen, if you're in the Florida area, you can make it to Florida. Come to a Hall of Fame. It's going to be an awesome opportunity. You're going to learn a lot. We're going to talk about a lot of different things. It's going to be an awesome opportunity. If you could come to Naples next week, be sure to come.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I'm going to cut us off live real quick on Facebook because I do have one thing I want to share with you.
Okay, cool.
That's awesome. All right, cool. Hey, I want to introduce you to somebody. That was awesome, man. That was awesome.
That was fun.
It was fun, man. I'm sorry. You know, I'm going to put this on YouTube too, and I'm going to put your stuff. So I really want to help loan officers get off the ground and start running. I mean, do that in 2.5 years, Major. You have no idea how incredible that is.
I think, and I will tell you, I really don't. So that's really the problem. Sometimes, I mean, if I have a 8 month loan or 8 loan month, you know, you're like this. I'm like, what is this? What just happened?
So, I mean, like, let me ask you a question. I got my good buddy Andre here.
But I think it's really I think the part that's, I mean, sometimes the part that's kind of dangerous for me is I don't understand what it's like to do less or anything like that. And I acknowledge that blind spot in my life, in my career. I don't know what it is to do any less. People are like, well, should I go meet with this realtor or this realtor? Yes. What are you talking about? Yeah.
That's a good blind spot to have though, man. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Hey, I want to introduce you to this lady named Till.
Okay.
And I think everyone, so I don't even care if we're just talking personal stuff. What Till does, you're going to love her, man. She is not a loan officer. Let me make sure. Hang on, I gotta make sure I'm off the Facebook group real quick. She's not a loan officer. Actually, I don't
Do you want to keep recording or you want to,
Oh yeah, I'll stop
Yeah.
it. And it's not, that's not